Alrighty guys, this is my hovercraft. This is what I've been working so hard for, and I'm going to show you guys how to build this so you can see it for yourself. We're going to drive it around and do a bunch of cool things, but first I wanted to show you guys how I built it and what I'm planning on doing with it in the future so you can kind of get an idea for its design and how to make it. So if you guys missed the stream that was yesterday, you probably missed me making the hovercraft itself. Me and the streamers actually put a lot of work forward together to kind of make this a team effort, and one of the people who was there, Legomore, actually came up with the best idea I've heard in a long time, and that was to use sensors to make the hovercraft able to detect when it's on the ground, and that way we would tell the thrusters when to go. So that was super smart. Thank you so much for that idea, Legomore. And now I'm going to build the base platform for the hovercraft. Alright guys, so here is the base platform for our hovercraft. And the next thing I want to put on here is our driver's seat. That's obviously essential to this thing driving. Alrighty, so now we're going to get down to the most important parts of this vehicle. The first thing I want to do is put bearings on all sides of this thing. That way, I'll show you guys what we're going to do. We're going to be angling these cubes I put on here at 45 degrees, so it kind of looks like it's doing the splits. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So yeah, we're well on our way to getting a hovercraft. Now the most important part of getting an object to start out in a certain angle, with this angled this way and this angled that way, is to have a controller. So the next step is to add a controller down by the driver's seat here. Alright, there's the first controller. So far everything is symmetric, which is awesome. We're doing pretty well. So then with the controller, I'm going to take my spanner tool and connect it to all of these. Alright, perfect. Now all those are connected, and just so I can see which way each one is facing, I'm going to use these pipes, and that way we can see if they're faced out as opposed to in. That can get a little confusing when you're trying to build your creation, so you always have to make sure you look and see which angle everything's going to face. So this one we're going to want to point to red, this one we're going to want to point to blue, and that makes sense because red means negative, it means it's going that way, etc. I think you guys get that. So number one, we want it to be red, 45 degrees. That will give it a nice angle to the side. Alright, so once you do that to the other side, everything should be symmetric. You guys see the pipes are facing outward, and I'm going to have to put this thing back on the lift. And now's the part where we're going to have to crank it up. Things are going to start getting pretty crowded down here. So let's add a pipe here and a pipe here. There's no reason you should have to use pipes. I'm using it partly for the weight and partly because I think it looks cool. And now we're going to need to raise it even more. Alright, so this is the part where we're going to be adding our rockets, which make our hovercraft hover. That is the whole purpose of a hovercraft. You have to actually make it go off the ground, and I decided to use thrusters for that. Well, there's no really other options because you don't want to be using, because you can't use wheels or it's not a hovercraft anymore. So yeah. Alright, well here is the most important part. We're going to add our thrusters on here. Perfect. Okay, so now if we take this thing off, this is how it's going to look. I think this looks pretty awesome. So yeah, they basically angle outward, and I do this for support and because I think it looks cool. They're really, I mean, you definitely could make a hovercraft facing things straight down. There's no disagreement about that, but I like doing it this way, and it ended up working, so let's get back to business. Alright, so the next most important thing for our vehicle is to make the outer wings. So basically what this large cage is going to be for, so that when I bump into things in the environment, it doesn't flip my vehicle. So that's really the only reason I'm doing this, but it does also look cool, and it does also provide some stabilizing weight. So we're going to do that on all the sides. So alright, and now I just have to make sure they're all the same length. Okay, so these are all the right length. Now comes the kind of tedious part about building this. So I just want to angle it outwards slowly like this, and then we're going to meet it all the way on the other side. So this is basically going to be a square roll cage. It could be a circle. I just kind of like the look of this. Alright, there is one wing completed. It kind of just looks like this. From up, it kind of just looks like an outer square. So yeah, that's what it looks like. It's basically a diamond pointing perpendicular to the way we already have the craft oriented. Okay, now everything is perfectly symmetrical. This is starting to look more like a hovercraft or a spaceship, one of the two. So next I'm going to go under here. Well, first I need to prop this thing up. Okay, so I was able to do this without having to prop it up. All I had to do was crouch to get under here. I think this is where I want it to be. So what this is going to be is the controlling thruster. So this one is going to be connected to the steering wheel to turn you wherever you want to go. Oh no, so unfortunately it got on top of the thing we wanted, so I'm going to try and bring it down and see if we can fix that. Oh, that's annoying. So it kind of picks in straight in the middle of the vehicle, and sometimes if you want something right under the vehicle, that's a big problem. So, wow. Okay, so I managed to not go under the vehicle, thank God. And now what I want, since I already have the ball bearing under the, right directly under the board, and then two of these under here. So now I'm going to put it right there. Actually, that's the wrong direction. Okay, so now that I can actually see where I'm looking, I can put that under there. And now if we get on top of the vehicle, all right, so it's a little bit of a pain in the butt to get in between this vehicle, but now is the part where we need to start connecting things. So I'm going to connect the driver's wheel to that bearing right under it where the rocket is. Okay, so next we are going to need a switch, and that is going to control when the rockets turn on and off. All right, we're gonna put that switch right here because it kind of corresponds to this controller. Let's go into 0. Let's do this, and that, and that, and that. All right, so now everything is connected to this switch, and we need to connect this switch to the driver's seat, and that's gonna be number 1. All right, now for the next most important part, we need this button here. We're gonna connect this to the rocket that's down there. And we're then going to connect that button to the driver's seat. So whenever we turn on that button, the driver's seat will be able to change on and off the underside rocket here that basically changes directions for us whenever we want. All right, guys, and here is the thing that makes this whole rocket work. What I want to do is as close to these rockets as possible. I want to put down a sensor. All right, so here I think this sensor is actually too close to this rocket, and it's just detecting the rocket. So the next thing we want to do is have this sensor, and I'm going to put it a little bit more forward. So that is detecting the ground right now. That is exactly what we want it to do. And now I need to put another one directly parallel to that one, and that's going to detect where the other rocket is. So they're both directly parallel to each other, and now this is going to tell this rocket when to use its thrusters. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Alright, so all these sensors need to be connected to something. Alright, so let's connect these sensors to the rockets. I forgot that I made a mistake. I told you guys to connect the controller to all these the switch to all these rockets, but that's wrong. A hovercraft can't work that way because you cannot connect a sensor to a switch. That is really unfortunate, but maybe they'll change that in the game at some point. Okay, so now we're going to connect these sensors to the rockets, and unfortunately my rockets are on right now, so this thing is actually moving. Okay, I need to work fast. I need to work fast. That's the only thing about these dang rockets, man. So now, look, you guys can see that there is a little bit of a weight imbalance here. How are we going to fix that? Well, I'm going to go up on top of it. So it's really not in any danger right now. I'm not worried about it going away because it's moving so slowly, basically. What makes it go fast is that thruster underneath us. And so just to counter the weight perfectly, I'm going to put some concrete in front here. All right, so let's find the place where we're going to put our concrete. I think I'm going to put it like right here and right there. And then I'm just going to stick the concrete down. All right, I think I accidentally put metal down, so I'm just fixing that right now. That's just one concrete block we're going to stick right there, and that provides pretty much all the counterbalance we need. As you guys can see, it's almost perfectly balanced right now. I mean, you honestly can't tell. That's one of the great things about this vehicle. You don't have to worry about when it's running or not. It does not matter. It will stay exactly where it is because it's perfectly balanced. Alright, so let's get in this vehicle and start to drive it. Alright, so it's working. And then we can go wherever we want. We turn using that button. And it's not perfect. And there's basically a reason we're on a flat terrain right now, guys. This vehicle does not work that well when it is forced to go up certain things. So you can hear the sensors turning on and off when they don't detect ground anymore. And for the most part, this vehicle is very stable, but occasionally it gets a little glitchy. So there you have it, guys. The first, as I've known it to be, the first hovercraft made in this game. I'm super excited to show you guys more of this, and I'm probably going to improve it a little bit. So this vehicle can handle some rough terrain, but the rougher the terrain, the worse it works, because if more than 3 of the rockets are off at one time, it basically stops working and will flip over, and that's unfortunate, but it's not a perfect creation. So if we did have terrain around us, this roll cage would protect us. And it doesn't matter, there's no way to flip us right now. There's no terrain that can get in our way. If this thing was on water, it would be absolutely majestic. I really do hope they add water into the game. This thing does have a bad turning radius, but I can't really fault it. It's still a really cool creation. It can get you to where you want to go, but it's not always the most efficient at it. For faster turns, you can quickly hit that thrust and then hit it again, but let it go all the way back. And as you can see, we just did a 90-degree turn, and now we're all the way back in the direction we were heading. So that's one way to do it. You flip it all the way to the side, let it go back, flip it again, and it actually makes it go faster for turning for some reason. I don't know. This thing is pretty wacky, but I'm really glad that we got a machine that actually works this well. It's pretty crazy. And then, there you go. When you want to get out of this thing, you just hop out and it stays perfectly still. So one thing I'm going to do real quick is fix this rocket position. It should be 1 over. Okay, so now it's a lot better. It's way more stable when everything is symmetric and nice and perfect. So right now it's actually working very well. There's basically nothing off about this creation. The weight is almost perfect in all directions, except for some occasional weirdness. I don't know why it occasionally jumps up like that, but we may never know. Alright, well here's the side view of me. The thing does glitch out occasionally, but it overall works very well. It kind of looks like a pod racer almost. I think we could definitely build a pod racer. This is my first prototype. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully I'll do more of this in the future. If you guys got a kick out of this, please leave a like. I'd love to hear from you and see what other creations you guys think I could make with this.